Ah, the trip to the fish store, one of every fish keeper's favorite things to do. And as a former fish store owner, I know a thing or two about the way things go in these shops. So here are 10 things you should know about fish stores. So you really have two different types of fish stores or pet stores. You've got your big box stores like PetSmart and Petco, which we've all been to, but then you also have mom and pop pet stores. We call these mom and pop pet stores because they're family owned operations, and usually you're gonna find the husband and wife working in the store running the day-to-day operations. I remember one that used to be in King George, Virginia that was like that. There are some pretty big differences between mom and pop stores and the big box stores. When you walk into a mom and pop store, a lot of times you'll deal directly with the owners, and their bottom line depends on making you happy and getting you to spend money. I don't mean this in a bad way. This is actually a good thing because you get that special attention that you need. When you go into a big box store, a lot of times you end up talking to a teenager that really could care less if you buy something or not. I know they're not all that way. I have dealt with some fantastic employees at big box pet stores. I'm just saying. You can usually find more specialized fish at a mom and pop store, where at the big box stores, they're mostly going to carry the fish that are the most common and best selling, and they're almost always teeny tiny little things. I've had wonderful experiences and nightmare experiences at both types of stores. You find the ones that you like and that treat you the best, and that's where you spend your money.
With a few exceptions, pet stores pretty much sell all the same stuff. As far as dry goods go, they're going to carry whatever they know is going to sell. Those are usually specific brands, so it's not unusual to find all of the same foods, chemicals, and equipment at whatever pet store you go to. And as far as the fish go, a lot of the distributors are going to be the same when it comes to the mom and pop pet stores, along with some of your big box stores. So why would you go to one over the other? Well, when it comes to being in the fish business, reputation is everything. It's the name of the game. The thing that's going to make you choose one pet store over the other is the way you're treated. Did you feel like you were noticed? Did you get your questions answered? Did you feel like you were rushed out of the store? Or did they spend time with you and answer all the questions that you had? Did the fish look good? Was the store clean? I mean, there's so many different reasons why you would pick one fish store over another. If you go to a fish store and it takes 15 minutes before someone even recognizes that you're even in that store, and then they're rude because it's like, oh my gosh, I have to help you. I just helped all these other people and now I have to help you. You're gonna leave there having a really nasty taste in your mouth, and you're probably not gonna wanna go back and waste your money at a place like that when you could go to another fish store and get much better service. But if you walk into a fish store and you're greeted and people are coming up to you and they're asking you, how can I help you? And they're answering all those questions that you have, and even spending a little extra time with you just talking about fish or whatever, asking how your day is, then you know what? You're probably gonna wanna go back to that fish store. Anyways, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a fish store that I know I could have gone down the road and got it cheaper, but I decided to go to that fish store because I had that feeling of just feeling welcome.
Fish stores, especially mom and pop operations, are in a really tight spot right now. These are all being run out of town by the big box stores and online retailers like Amazon. The problem is the big box stores are able to buy their inventory in such high volumes that they get incredible discounts on them. So they're paying significantly less to buy those products and put them on the shelves and mark them up to sell to you. Because they pay less for these items, they're able to charge less. And this is why a lot of times you'll find the prices to be a little higher in a mom and pop store. It's not because the mom and pop store is greedy, it's because they pay a lot more for it just to get it in the store. I can remember when we had our store looking at price sheets from our distributors and seeing that sometimes the wholesale price was the same price that Petco was selling the product for right down the street. I would ask my rep about it and he would say, well, that's because you're gonna buy 4 or 5 of these, where Petco is gonna order 4 or 5,000 and send them out to all of their stores. There's tons of products that we didn't even carry in our store because we had to pay for them more than what Petco had them for sale in their stores. So you wonder why so many mom and pops are shutting down. More times than we can count, we had customers come into our store, they would see a product, they would touch it and look at it really closely, and then stand there in the store on their phone and order that product on Amazon so that they could save $4. Listen, I am not saying that Amazon or the big box stores are doing anything wrong. They are certainly not. I guess business is business.
My thing on fish stores is this: be a good consumer and realize it's a really tough business for the business owner, the fish store owner. Probably at some point that day they had to explain why Oscars and guppies and tetras and that black shark over there was a death tornado in someone's 5-gallon, and that took an hour and a half and they made no sales and the customer stormed off angry. So realize it's a tough business. And then don't do things that are gonna cheapen the relationship. Don't ever say words like, do you know how much I spend here? The reality is, yes, that small business owner does know how much you spend there, and if it ever got to that point, when you say those words, that person already knows how much you spend and is willing to let it go there. So typically the people that say, do you know how much I spend here, are the people that aren't spending that much, because someone who's spending a ton of money, typically the owner would have already made them the deal or whatever, right? So the other thing is, don't ask for a price match. Hey, store down the block right down from you that's your competitor, that you're both clashing over trying to make money and not go out of business, says they'll sell it for X, right? And so usually a store owner is selling for what they can sell it for. No one's getting rich in that industry, right? So if they got to sell it for $9.99 and the competitor down the street's got it for $8.99, there's probably a reason why. Maybe this person's willing to spend more time, maybe this person's buying it more in bulk. Instead of asking for a price match, try and approach it from a different angle and go, hey, if I buy 5 of that, maybe it's a fish, can I get it for, $40? Right? Because then you're even getting it lower than the other place. Try to get them where you're buying in bulk, or say, hey, can I get 5 of those? I'll prepay today and I'll pick them up in 2 weeks when the next ones come in, so that way you're not out of stock, that type of thing. Try to work with them. And just realize it is a hard business. So I never fault a store owner where they're way more expensive than I am or anything like that. I just go, their situation must be. Now there's always outliers, right? But in general, I believe fish people and fish store owners to be good people. And that would be my tip to you is, realize it's a difficult job. It's livestock and everyone's trying to do the best they can. Some best, are others better than others. But, for the most part, we're all trying.
Back when I started keeping fish in 1993, Sergey Brin and Larry Page were just starting college, so there was no Google yet. So what were you supposed to do if you had a question and you needed answers right away? Well, you either looked at magazines or books, or you got in the car and you went down to the local pet store and talked to the folks in there. It always seemed like there was a couple of younger people in there working, doing the water changes and stuff like that, but then there was always that old guy sitting behind the counter. That old guy was my Google. Back then, store employees had to be knowledgeable because a lot of times they were the only resource that their customers had. Information was a lot harder to come by back then. Well, it's no different now. There always seems to be that guy or that woman in the store that is an encyclopedia of information. I know we have Google and we have YouTube and we have everything else all in our fingertips. Anything we ever want to know, it's right there. But There's something about actually hearing it from somebody's mouth, hearing it from their experiences. I don't know, maybe I'm old-fashioned. Oh, and by the way, let's not be so quick to write off the employees at the big box stores. I have met more than a few absolutely exceptional fish keepers at Petco's and PetSmarts working there. So let's not automatically assume that these people at those stores don't know anything.
We live in an instant gratification world. We can buy anything we want 24 hours a day. Yay, the internet. It's awesome. But for us fish nerds, we like to go to the store and we like to see things for ourselves. Of course, we want to have a wonderful experience, and if we don't, then you know what? We'll just end up getting it off the internet. So what makes a fish store one that you want to go back to? Some things are obvious, like the cleanliness of the store. How are things presented on the shelves? But it goes much deeper than that, for me anyway. What makes me want to go back to a store over and over is the way I feel when I'm there. Do I feel like I'm welcome? Do I feel like I'm appreciated? Those are the type of things that make me want to go back, not, oh, I wish she wasn't here, or I feel like someone is always watching me and wishing I wasn't even there.
Hurry up and buy.
Hurry up and buy.
Hurry up and buy!
A good fish store is one that makes you feel like you're the most important person in that store. You walk in, the employee greets you and asks you, do you need any help? The store employee doesn't even have to be the most knowledgeable person in the world. It means a lot to me when I ask a person a question and they're honest and they say, you know what, I'm not sure about that, but let me find somebody who does know the answer to that. When you go into a store and you ask if they have that particular fish that you want, and they say, you know what, I don't have it right now, but I can see if my distributor has it and I can have it in the next shipment. These are the things that make me feel like I'm being appreciated and I want to go back to that store. But then there's the other side to this story. What makes a bad fish store? Well, it would be easy just to say it's the opposite of what I just said about what makes a good fish store, but let me give you some of my experiences. I've walked into a fish store and I've had that overwhelming smell of dead fish. Ugh. There's water everywhere, hoses on the floor, algae in all the tanks, and it looks like a fish just got put in a garbage disposal. I had this happen to me about 10 years ago, and I literally turned around, walked out of the store, and you know what? Needless to say, that store shut down about a year later. A bad fish store is when you walk in and the staff makes you feel like you're lucky to be in their store, like they're doing you a favor by simply having the doors open. These are the kind of places you want to stay away from. Look, I used to own a fish store. Trust me, I know how hard it is to keep the place clean, to keep up with the tanks, to make sure the algae is cleaned off of the tanks, to make sure the fish are happy and healthy, and you just have an overall wonderful environment for people to walk in and you have to put on that happy face. Honestly, if you're putting on a happy face, it should be real, not just because you feel like you have to be there. It should be because you are actually happy with the job that you have and you care. Owning and operating a fish store is very stressful, I know, but that's not your fault and that's not your problem. When you go into a fish store, you want to be greeted and you want to be treated right. You want to get happy, healthy fish with a smile.
So here's the thing, get in good with your fish store owner. Now, how do you do that without being annoying? Don't offer to help work and do all these things. Just be a good person. Strike up a conversation, and maybe you find out they love a certain type of latte, or they love tacos, or they, you know, oh, it's such a struggle because it's hard to get home to your family at night, and so you miss dinner. Like, pick up one of those key things like you would with a friend, and then when you go visit a friend, right, because we start a relationship, help them out. So like, oh yeah, it's Saturday, it's probably crazy busy, I'm gonna go in, maybe I'm gonna bring this person a latte, and they'll be happy to see me, like, wow, brought me a latte. You're way more likely to get a better deal on fish and all that kind of stuff by doing that. Now, if you don't get a deal, don't take it as like, hey, I bought you a latte. Realize it is a friendship and it will work out long term. And just find some way to be helpful like that. A little present goes a long way when you're in the customer service industry and everyone's trying to take from you, and then someone brings you something. You're like, oh, it puts us on such a different thing. It can take a really bad day into a good one. Sometimes you're there just in the nick of time. Sometimes you bring them a taco and they had just eaten, but they appreciate the thought. But sometimes they haven't eaten in 6 hours and that taco changes the world that day. And I definitely myself, someone brought me, smoked salmon or anything like that. It's like, what do you want? Anything you want, pretty much. Like, I'll make you a deal. We're good friends. So that's my tip. Be a nice friend to someone, and in return, they'll be a friend back to you.
I know how it is. We're in a world where technology is everything, and we're on it all day long, every single one of us. I mean, look what you're doing right now. If I wasn't recording a video, I would be doing the exact same thing. No matter what your hobbies or interests are, it's so easy to just be stuck in the house. We have it so simple nowadays with technology. We don't even need to leave our house to find something that we're interested in. But we all know we need to. We need to get out of the house, we need to mingle with other people, and fish stores are a great place to do that. When you're passionate about something and you want to talk to other people that have the same passion, what better place than a fish store to do that? I know not all stores are like this, but if you find one like that, then you need to cherish it and get in it as much as you can. Get off the couch, get off your phone, get up, go talk to people. You'll enjoy it. All in all, I really miss owning a fish store. It was one of my greatest achievements. It may not have lasted a long time, but while it did, I enjoyed so much of it. I so much enjoyed the customers and just talking to people. Get a little teary out here.
Lisa and I owned a fish store for about 3 years, and having been on both sides of the equation, being behind the counter as the store owner and also being the customer, we've picked up on quite a few things that we believe should and should not be done while you're in a fish store.
You know something? No soup for you! Come back 1 year!
First things first, remember when Lisa talked about reputation being everything? Well, remember that when you offer assistance to a fellow customer at the local fish store. We all want to be nice, and when we see somebody that needs help, we want to jump in there and do what we can to help them. But you have to understand that if you give them information, you have now just given them information as a representative of that pet store. We had this happen to us where a customer would come into the store and say, I did what your guy told me to do and 3 of my fish died. And I said, what guy told you what to do? And the customer said, your guy that was in here the other night. The customer thought that guy was an employee at the store. He gave her information and her fish ended up dying, and she wanted to blame my store for this. Now look, this lady was just looking for someone to blame. We live in that kind of world where the guy that gave her information was just looking to try to help her, and her fish were probably gonna die anyway. But the point is, he wanted to help. Her fish died, and she wanted to blame the store for this. We took care of this customer, and guess what? She never came back again. Reputation is everything. On the flip side of that, I've had customers give other customers information that helped them out immensely and ended up making our store look good. I guess it's just luck of the draw. The point is, a lot of mom and pop fish stores are on the razor's edge and fighting to keep the doors open. When you go to your local fish store, go in knowing that. And if they charge $1 more for that can of food, buy it there anyway. When you see someone looking at a filter, don't say, hey, you can get that a lot cheaper on Amazon. And if you're gonna help someone with a problem, make sure the customer knows you're just another guy in the store and not an employee. When reputation is everything, we gotta do what we can do to make sure we as customers don't do anything to hurt that reputation. So there you go, 10 things you should know about fish stores. We upload new episodes of 10 Things every single Sunday. So if you found this video helpful, if you found it entertaining, why don't you consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss next week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again next week with 10 more things.